And here we are, heading out to the dry Tortugas. I'm super excited because I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. The dry Tortugas is one of the most remote national parks in America, and it is 70 miles west of Key West. So I guess that is technically the most southern point in America, right? And it's 99% underwater. So this is going to be very interesting. Follow us for a tour. Don't forget, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with a friend.
Taking my chances along with my dreams.
The ferry terminal is at 100 Grinnell, and the parking garage is at 300 Grinnell, so it's right down the street. It's $40 to park for the day, but look how convenient it is. We left the campsite at 6 a.m. for the hour ride down to Key West because check-in started at 7. We got there probably like 5 after 7, and we were number 144 and 145. So people check in early. I highly suggest that you get there on time. The Yankee Freedom is the only ferry that goes over to the dry Tortugas. We opted to go with the ferry because although it's a 2.5-hour ferry ride each way, you get to spend 4.5 hours at the dry Tortugas. And if you take the seaplane, the shorter run is like 2 hours on the island, the longer one is like 8 hours. And we read that the 2 hours was too short, so we opted for the ferry. The Yankee Freedom ticket will cost you $1.99. We did have a discount because we have the Lifetime National Park Pass, so we got $15 off each ticket. So that was great. But your ticket does include a breakfast, your lunch, and the lunch was really good. And it includes a guided tour once you get to the dry Tortugas. So, and it's a 5-hour ride, both ways. So I thought this was a really good price. The seaplane, I believe, was twice the price, which is okay, and it's only a 40-minute ride. But we really enjoyed the ferry, and we would highly recommend it. We would do it again for sure.
All right, everybody, welcome aboard the Yankee Freedom 3 with non-stop service to the dry Tortugas. Right on her at all. Blast, 3 short blasts on the ship's whistle as Captain Mike's way of letting everybody know we are backing out of our slip, turning around and heading out to the dry Tortugas. Now this slip that we just left is here in the historic seaport, also known as the Key West Bight. And this has been the center of Key West economy really throughout the years, beginning with the sponging industry in the mid to late 1800s. At one time, the Navy owned it, and they had fuel tanks there. Now, when they discontinued the diesel-electric submarines, they dismantled those fuel tanks, and they sold the island to the city of Key West for about $8 million.
We heard from our tour director that this green boat goes out to the dry Tortugas to take supplies. You can purchase snacks and drinks right on board the ferry. The prices are really good. The crew was super helpful. They also had like sunscreen and souvenirs. So this was really helpful.
It's very like your turtles. Now, it's only it doesn't look that high above sea level, but it is high enough above sea level that sea turtle now.
I was keeping my eye on Captain Mike to make sure we were heading in the right direction. But yeah, there it is. A 2.5-hour ride at 8 o'clock in the morning seems like really boring, but this was not. About halfway to the dry Tortugas, this F-16 flew down over us. It was so loud. we like jumped out of our seat. It was like super exciting. By the time we heard the noise, it was already gone. But then probably, you know, a few minutes after Charles actually saw him coming back, it was so exciting. We tried to capture it on camera, but we were not successful. It's really fascinating that in the middle of nowhere, all of a sudden you see this island and this giant fort coming out of the water. Is really, really spectacular. Originally there were 11 islands, but now there's only 7, and sometime depending on the tides, part of these islands are underwater as well. 99% of the dry Tortugas is underwater. The park is open all year round during daylight hours. You can dry camp at the park. You have to book way in advance. There's only like a limited amount of dry campers, and you have to bring everything with you. There's nothing on the island. There's no lodging, food, anything like that. There are bathrooms, toilets actually, and when the ferry is in port, you use the toilets on the ferry. After the ferry leaves, the campers can use the one on the island. You can't leave anything behind. Everything you bring, you take back with you. You take your trash back with you to Key West. Here are the remains of a coal refueling station that was built in the 1800s to store huge amounts of coal required to refuel steam-powered warships. We decided to head out to the beach first to leave our stuff and mark a spot. We had read the reviews, you know, to get a spot before it's crowded, but really it doesn't get very crowded. The ferry can only take 250 passengers and nobody else is coming to the island, only some people on the seaplane, which is very few, so there's always a spot. We went to the South Beach because this is on the Gulf side and it's calmer and flatter. We had read about the clear water. The water is crystal clear and just beautiful. The water is just rippling in. It's so peaceful and quiet. I feel like whispering, kind of like in a library. Just listen. This is a huge, I think it's a moon jelly. It's very colorful. I'm definitely more scared of jellyfish than I am of sharks because I got stung with Portuguese man of war, which almost killed me, and I haven't been bit by a shark. But how cool is this? It's beautiful. I know they don't sting hard, but I'm not going to get too close anyway. Guess where this is? You guessed it, at the Dry Tortugas. The Dry Tortugas is 70 miles west of Key West, and it's one of the most remote national parks in America. This has been on my list for a very long time, and I am so happy to be here today. I was like in tears when the boat pulled in. It's so beautiful. And now we're going to take you on a tour of the Jefferson Fort. Fort Jefferson is the largest brick masonry structure in the Americas, covering 16 acres and made with 16 million bricks. Fort Jefferson was built to protect one of the most strategic deep water anchorages in North America. Although it was never finished nor fully armed, yet it was a vital link in a chain of coastal forts that stretched from Maine to California. Fort Jefferson, the most sophisticated of these, was a brilliant and undeniable symbol that the United States wanted to be left alone. Though never attacked, the fort fulfilled its intended role. It helped to protect the peace and prosperity of a young nation.
If there's no water, you think you're gonna get stuck in the Dry Tortugas for any amount of time? you better bring your own water because you're not going to find it there. But we were able to take over Florida, the Florida Keys, and the dry Tortugas. And we immediately started to build something here that would protect our shipping. It was not a fort. Not yet. The very first permanent structure out here in the dry Tortugas is between these two amazing buttonwood trees. It's all gnarled. On the ground is a round, circular little concrete pad. That is the foundation for the very first lighthouse. That lighthouse was first lit in 1826, stood about 70 feet high, and served two purposes. One was a safe harbor light. So if you got stuck in a big storm, you could aim for that light and you could find shelter. The second though is as a navigation aid. And it's for sailors that even at night, they're coming down the Florida Straits, they could see that light and know it was safe to make the turn into the Gulf of Mexico and head out to the Gulf States. Does anybody know what would happen if you made the turn too soon? Shipwreck. You would definitely wreck. There is the world's third largest living barrier reef that runs from Miami out to the dry Tortugas. And there are thousands of shipwrecks all along this reef line from people that tried to make that turn too soon. Now here inside of the fort, here inside of the dry Tortugas National Park, we have about 250 shipwrecks that we know about. Do you think that that lighthouse was very useful? It's very effective. It wasn't tall enough or bright enough. Eventually we did put in the lighthouse out on Loggerhead Key. It stands 157 feet tall and is much brighter. First lit in 1858. And then in 1875 we stuck this one on top of the fort. It was lit until a few years ago. Now 2015 was the last time that any lighthouse in the Florida Keys was actually lit.
Although I already bought my magnet on the ferry, I decided I still had to go visit the gift shop. And I bought myself a national park passport. Although this is my 12th national park, it's only my first stamp. Will I revisit the other 11? I'm not sure. But hey, out of the 63 national parks, I have 51 more to go. So this passport will come in handy. Catching rain. The dry Tortugas receive about 30 inches of rain yearly. The entire roof of the fort, as seen here, served as a basin to catch as much of the rain as possible. From here, pipes carry the water down to cisterns beneath the gun rooms on the ground level. After cracks in the settling fort allowed salt water to enter most of the cisterns, the U.S. military had to rely on a 92,000-gallon cistern on the parade ground, the low white structure, and during the Civil War on two steam condensers that could distill 7,000 gallons of fresh water per day from seawater. This is really interesting because in Saba, where I come from, we collect water on our roofs in our cisterns. So I'm very familiar with cisterns. Did you know that the word dry and dry Tortuga came about? Originally it was named Las Tortugas because of the turtles, but then Las was changed to dry so that mariners would know that there was no water on the island, that this was a dry place. So if you came here for shelter, you could feed off the turtles, but you had to bring your own water. This is where the filtration system was kept. You can see the pipe has rusted, but it leads right down to the mini cisterns. It's pretty cool to walk into this structure that was built hundreds of years ago, and you can actually still walk from room to room. This was built with millions of red brick, and it still stands today. How cool is this? It looks like some sort of game room, like maybe a ping pong table or something like that, but I'm guessing in the 1800s they did not have ping pong tables. And I'm doing the self-guided tour, so I'm not really sure what this is. But look how cool you can see through all the doorways. It's really an incredible fort. In 1863, the U.S. Army started building a barracks for soldiers who had been crowded in storehouses on the parade ground and unfinished casemates on the fort's second tier. The 3-story building, higher than the fort's walls to catch the breeze and longer than a football field, was designed to house 1,000 soldiers, but it was never completed. Hurricanes, neglect, and in 1912, fire damaged the barracks. The unstable ruins were torn down in 1960s. All that remains is this foundation. Oh my goodness. I wonder if this was put here or if it washed in here. Pretty interesting. Wow, look at the cactus. The dry tortugas were discovered in the 1500s by Ponce de Leon, who used to catch about 100 turtle a day. Did you know that if you turn a turtle over, that it can live for probably like a month on its back? Horrible statistic. So on every corner, there's a stairwell. This one goes to the first and the second and third floor. Some of them only go straight up to the third. One of them goes straight to the second. So I chose this one so that I could stop on the second and the third floor. So let's have a look outside before we go up. Oh yeah, there's no railings. Back then there were no railings. Oh wow, spectacular. And you can look out at the ocean as well. It is breezy, so you probably won't hear too much, but you can see how the bricks are falling down. So there they are all over because of hurricanes and such. This is the north side beach. And you can see you're not allowed to swim in the moat, but you can walk all around. The shore is beautiful. And they gave a lot of warnings onto the boat to be very careful, because we are 2.5 hours away from civilization and any type of medical care. So I'm not getting too close to the edges. It's windy and I can't walk and talk, but look how spectacular. And that's Loggerhead Key with the lighthouse. So you can see how they move this massive cannon around on these metal strips, and they had wheels. Pretty clever, right? Let's see. 15-inch Rodman. I was gonna walk all around, but it says area closed over there. So I came and found the nearest staircase to get back down. And folks, that concludes your tour of Fort Jefferson. Time to head back to the ferry and get some lunch. Lunch was Jersey Mike's subs with chips, cookies, a drink. It was yummy. Now time for a little snorkeling in these beautiful waters. We were surrounded by a wall of bait fish. They were like everywhere, and chasing them were these big jacks, and also there was a barracuda like right between Charles and I. It was just so cool. It was gorgeous. I took my snorkel gear with me, but you don't have to. I would not do that again because the Yankee Freedom provides snorkel gear, so you don't need to take that with you. You do need to take sunscreen. I suggest a hat, a towel, because it is hot and you're outside. There's not a whole lot of shade on the beach, so you definitely need lots of sunscreen. I kept running into my little friend the jellyfish. I guess that would be swimming into my little friend the jellyfish. Although I know the moon jellies don't really sting, I still wanted to keep my distance, but they sure are pretty to look at. After touring the fort, I was really in need of a swim because it was pretty hot. So it was so nice and peaceful snorkeling. I could have stayed there like all day. The magic time for the ferry though is 2:45. You have to be on board by 2:45. They leave at 3. So I think we got on board about 2:44. We were like one of the last people to board the ferry.
Yeah, the red light is blinking now. Did we get it? Oh look, there's no water onto the thing.
There are freshwater showers on the back of the ferry, which is really convenient. We took dry clothes with us. I suggest you do the same, especially if you're going to stay over in Key West when you get back. It's really convenient. They also have changing rooms right onto the dock, so you can shower off on the back of the ferry and then change before you get back for your 2.5-hour ride back to Key West. That concludes our day at the Dry Tortugas. If you've enjoyed this video or you find it helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and consider sharing this video. It costs you nothing and it helps us tremendously.